The booklet that you received for each family when you came in today, and if you didn't get one, make sure you take one on the way out. There's a lot of history at Trinity Lutheran Church in the front of that book for pages, pages and pages. And I want to recognize the individual who years ago did a lot of research and documented that information, and he is with us today, Robert Baker. He worked hard to put quite an effort to complete that. This time in 2008, Trinity called an assistant pastor, and that pastor's name was Todd Wilken. And he is currently serving in that position here at Trinity. And Pastor, would you like to say a few words?
Very few, yes.
I believe your wife had to leave, right, Maria? They live in Waterloo.
Yeah.
It was Reformation Day, 1990. Somebody handed me a call to Holy Cross Lutheran Church in, well, it said East Carondelet, so my wife and I drove over to East Carondelet, and if you've ever been there, there's nothing there. And so I had the great trepidation about my first call to Holy Cross. And it wasn't until I met with Dalton Muskoff, some of you remember him, that he said, "Oh no, Pastor, it's not in East Carondelet, it's way up in the Bluffs." And I went up there and met the outgoing pastor, and I walked into this tiny, tiny little church, the Barbie church, pews about that long, maybe seat 100 people if you squeezed them in. And I spent the next 9 years there. It was heaven on earth. It was, I thought, I couldn't find a better group of people. I could not find a congregation that was as welcoming, and had a call from Synod not intervened, I probably would have tried to stay there my whole life. It was that good. And I told my wife when we left there, she's been saying ever since I took the call into radio that I need to stop and go back into the parish. She's on a monthly basis. When are you going to stop doing this? I said, well, it puts food on the table and money in the bank, so I think I'm going to keep doing it. But I said, we're never going to find another congregation like that. Never again. That's a one-off in a pastor's ministry. And then I found out that Michael Cumm had just been called to Trinity Millstad. And I'd only heard him preach one time when he was doing the vacancy at Holy Cross Sugarloaf after I had left and another pastor left. I heard him preach one time, and I said, wherever he goes, that's where I'm going to be. So when I found out he got the call, we immediately put in a transfer from St. Paul de Pere to Trinity Millstad. That was 2005. 2005, we became members. And life intervened again, and I had the opportunity to take a call to be the assistant pastor. And I'm telling you, without any reservation, it isn't just a one-off in a pastor's ministry to find a congregation where we've been talking about family, where you find people who are loving, they're faithful, that's the most important thing, and not just a few individuals, but whole families that have interwoven into each other and built a real family of a congregation. Now, I do want to say before I sit down, it was a real pleasure for me today to see these two bookends of Michael Cumm at the altar and Brett Simic at the pulpit. The old the very old. Yes, and a pastor that I'm kind of shocked to hear that he's been out for 9 years. But if you heard that sermon this morning, you see what a tremendous pastor he has turned out to be. And that is due to, I think, the biggest part of that a man can come back to a congregation where he was born and baptized and grew up, and then deliver a sermon like that is due to the fact that he was born and brought up in this congregation family. And that you have a man who's been, I don't know, Michael Cum has been all over the world and done every job imaginable and been shot at, and I think crashed a helicopter at one point in his life.
Wasn't flying.
Right, no. He was sitting in the door ready to jump out. And all sorts of other things he's done in his life. For him to count his experience here as pastor as the highlight of his ministry is really something. Because he's seen it all and he's done it all. So you have these two bookends, the very old and the very new, the young and the extremely old. And that should tell you something. That's a testimony to what God has been able to do in this congregation.